So my name is Lisa Leblanc. I'm a senior engineer in the Strategic Transportation Planning branch at the City of Vancouver. We're the group that does transportation planning in Vancouver. So we do planning at a community level, and we also do planning at a city level, and we also interact at the regional level. So what I'm going to do today is tell you a story. I'm going to keep it at a high level. As you can imagine, transportation can be talked about all day, especially by engineers and transportation planners. I won't do that. I'm going to keep it at a high level and raise some questions. Probably end up putting questions in your minds, and the idea is to start a conversation and to appreciate the complexities of solving some of the challenges like bike lanes on Commercial Drive or not, as an example. So, oh, I'm missing a slide. So in between this one and this one is a slide that talks about the regional context or geography. We can't really talk about Grandview-Woodlands without talking about the City of Vancouver, and we can't talk about transportation in the city without talking about the whole region. Vancouver is one city of 21 that belong to Metro Vancouver. Metro Vancouver itself is between 2.2 and 2.4 million people. Vancouver is about 600,000 people. So we're about a quarter of the region's population, but we're home to about a third of the population's jobs, or of the region's jobs. So we've got a lot going on in Vancouver. We're a regional hub in terms of transportation. We're a significant destination. So we're not only serving the transportation needs of individual communities, but of the region as a whole. Oops. So part of the story goes back a little ways. To our history. So it's important to understand this and how we got to the place we are. This is the freeway that was never built. Just over 50 years ago, Vancouver found itself facing a difficult choice. How do we accommodate growth? How do we accommodate the aspirations we've got for being one of the greatest cities in the world? The decision was made to not build this freeway, to not build it through the downtown or through East Vancouver, and the decision was made to not expand the road capacity in Vancouver for motor vehicles. That leaves us with other things that we need to do. It was a tough decision. The decision to not build the freeway was opposed on many fronts. Some people benefited from that politically, and others didn't necessarily. So it brings us to where we are. This decision represents a significant shift in thinking about transportation in the city, thinking about community planning. Every council since this time has affirmed that there will be no new roads to serve traffic coming into the city. That's our starting point. In 1997, there was a comprehensive transportation plan that reaffirmed that, no increase in capacity for cars. And it was also the first point at which we prioritized modes of transportation. So we identified walking, cycling, and transit as the top priority in that plan. Goods movement was also identified and called out as important to the city's economic success. And of course, cars had to be considered as well. Eliminating cars is not the objective of any of the transportation planning that we do. It's sort of moderating all of the various modes of transportation that we need to consider. This plan was also one of the first to consider land use. Historically, transportation plans have been done in isolation of land use decisions. The City of Vancouver has a strong reputation for considering both land use and transportation together and at the same time. That's why transportation is part of the community plan process as well. 97 transportation plan serves as a benchmark that we measure against. So when we compare 97 to 2014, or 2012 actually was when our new transportation plan was adopted, we see a number of interesting things. Between 97 and 2012, we saw the city's population increase by 18%. We saw the number of jobs in the city increase by 16%, but we saw the number of vehicles entering the city go down. So even though population's going up, jobs are going up, the number of motor vehicles entering the city is going down. It's even more dramatic when you look just at the downtown, 75% population increase, 26% job increase, and a 20% reduction in vehicles entering the downtown. So how are people getting there? By other modes, so by transit, by walking, by cycling. So that leads us to Transportation 2040, which is the city's most recently adopted transportation plan. We started working on this plan in 2010. It was dubbed as an update to the 97 plan. Transportation 2040 was approved by Council in October 2012, almost exactly to the day, actually. So 2 years ago. It now forms the basis for all of the transportation decisions we make in the city. What's it based on? It's based on the 3 wheels of sustainability. And sustainability doesn't work when any of these is out of balance. The city's strategic initiatives on economy, environment, and health are supported by Transportation 2040. When you put them together, it's what we know as the 3 pillars of sustainability. Through the plan and through the work of the city generally, we envision a smart and efficient transportation system that supports a thriving economy. We envision healthy cities in a safe, accessible, and vibrant city. We envision a city that enhances its natural environment, ensuring a healthy future for the people and the planet. Within these 3 broad goals, there's a number of specific transportation-related themes. So health, it was great to have Claire present before me because she set up all of the health implications associated with transportation and built environment generally. Transportation is not just about mobility, it's about health and safety, accessibility for everyone, regardless of age and ability, affordability, public life, and community building. It's also about resiliency. And it's really interesting to see the synergy between all of these things in transportation. When we get the transportation planning right, we see all of these things benefit. So the plan has 2 ambitious targets. The first is around what we refer to as mode share, so which is the proportion of trips made in the city by walking, cycling, transit, and motor vehicles. And these are statistics that are gathered through the census. They're also gathered through the trip diary that TransLink does, and the city also does its own surveys around mode share. So in 2008, 40% of all trips were by foot, by bike, or by transit. Our goal in Transportation 2040 is to have 2/3, 67%, of all trips be by walking, cycling, or transit. It's ambitious. We have a midterm goal that by 2020, half of all trips will be by walking, cycling, or transit. It's important to note that this doesn't mean an elimination of motor vehicle use. We recognize that motor vehicles will still be used in the city and form an important component of how people get around, how goods get moved. So we're not eliminating or even reducing motor vehicle use. What we're doing, our big challenge, is to make it easier to drive less as the city grows. Recent data shows us that we're clearly on track, certainly to achieve the 2020 goal. The latest trip diary data shows almost 45% of all trips were made by walking, cycling, and transit. So we're on our way. It feels like an achievable goal, and there's where we are. The next goal of the Transportation 2040 plan is 0 fatalities. So we have the goal to have no fatalities based on or derived from the transportation system. This is a lofty goal, so you can see that we're on our way, but we still do have fatalities every year. In our opinion, in our planning, 1 fatality is 1 too many. We know we can't do this alone, so we're working with the VPD, with ICBC, and with other partners to examine what leads to fatalities on the road. But it's a goal that we maintain, and it's a goal that sort of frames up everything we do, safety first. It's interesting to note the decline in transportation fatalities. If you were to overlay this graph with a graph in the increase in walking and cycling and transit use in the city, you'd see walking, cycling, transit go up at the same time that transportation fatalities go down. This whole idea of safety in numbers applies here. The more people you have walking and cycling and taking transit, the fewer fatalities you have. This has been shown around the world. So it leads us to the meat of the plan. The plan has a number of concepts that are fundamental. Thank you. First is land use, and then gets into detailed policies on moving people and moving goods. So land use, the principle of the plan is to support shorter trips and sustainable transportation choices. We recognize that land use and transportation go hand in hand. Good land use supports shorter trips and sustainable transportation choices. While the plan isn't a detailed land use plan, it does include high-level policies and directions to inform future land use planning. That's at least part of what the Grandview-Woodlands plan process is about. So integrating land use and streets is important. Some of the strategies include prioritizing and encouraging a diverse mix of services, amenities, jobs, and housing types, all what Claire was saying previously. Done well, growth makes it safer, more comfortable, and more convenient to get around by walking, cycling, and taking transit. That's what we're trying to achieve, is an increase in those modes.